What's going on, everybody? It's afternoon here. It's 1:31. I'll probably go for a couple hours anyways. I got time. Yeah, I'll Brinkley and talk about. Hey, how you doing, sir?
Oh, not too bad. And yourself?
Good. Can't complain. Just had a bit of time in between work and figured I'd come on here for a couple hours, see what everyone's up to.
Yeah. Why not?
Yes. Hey, Jackie. Hey, Rob, Urbex C. Let me just go back. Mr. Steve Wills. Hello,
Stevie
Mr.
Wills.
Steve Wills.
Or as I sometimes say to myself, I go, Stevie Wills.
Stevie Wills.
Stevie Wills.
Domination. Hey, Nissan, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah.
I was just gonna come on because, like, I've been watching in behind that. Am I blowing you off?
Yeah. Sorry.
Don't tell me my audio's that loud, is it?
No, you're all right.
Okay, perfect.
Sound okay to me?
Okay, good. No, I've been on the sidelines watching all these videos of all these people going out, all these debunkers and stuff like that going on and saying, "Oh my God, fake paranormal ruining legit paranormal." And I say to myself, define legit paranormal. I mean, Matt, how would you define legit paranormal investigation or whatever? How would you?
I think if there's no television company involved, then there's less likely to be serious shenanigans going on, because TV companies are driven by needing ratings, so they have to have something happen. And your normal small timers, the ones who really don't have many subscribers and have been going for 10 years and they only get 20 views per video and they still keep doing it.
Yeah.
Those are probably the people that are just not in it for the money, and they're not in it for the fame. They do it because they believe in it.
And I kind of think that it could go the other way too. I mean, these guys that are debunking can sort of piggyback off that fame with these guys. I mean, talking about YouTube and social media and all that kind of stuff, and calling out these fake guys and going, "Oh, wait a sec," but I mean, clear it up. define. I mean, none of them really define what legit paranormal is,
Well,
other
look what they.
than, well, what you're doing is fake. It's not real. And I know. I mean, it's all entertainment. A lot of it's entertainment that you see on YouTube and everything else, right?
Well, a lot of people, including the media, they say this is entertainment. It's
Yeah.
not meant to be taken seriously. And if you watch very carefully, like they usually say, sort of like, at the beginning of the show, they'll say something like, everything in this show is for entertainment purposes. Do not try to reenact yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And what they're saying is, this is bullshit, but don't try to do the real stuff because you might get in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Let's
Yeah.
keep them occupied. We
Mm.
don't want to show them the real stuff. God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, isn't it really down to the person who's watching the show has to make their mind up, is it real or is it fake? And it all depends on your discrimination skills, whether or not you can tell whether it's real or fake. It should be fairly obvious because they're usually quite tongue-in-cheek when something happens. And they go, oh my God, look at that ghost. I can't believe it. Yeah. And then they all go screaming, running down the corridor, goes, ah! And then there happens to be a camera down the corridor, then a camera further down the corridor, then another camera further down the corridor. And it's like, oh, so you knew where to put the cameras in, just catch them running down the corridor. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Wait a sec. I thought this was like POV or like, found footage. Wait a sec.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very scripted. I mean, the thing is, somebody I know who works on a very famous TV show that deals with the paranormal, they found a few of the scripts, and it actually says ghost appears here, ghost throws this across the room, then we do this, then you scream, run down corridor. I mean, the whole thing is scripted.
It is. I mean, I've worked on a few reality TV shows that are involved with that sort of realm, and there's nothing real about them, really. I mean, except for outside. Well, this is some of what is, some of the tools that they might employ during investigations and whatnot. But I mean, in terms of, well, they're not really made for looking for ghosts. They're made to like explain the environment around you. But I mean, whatever.
Yeah. Hang on, I've just been told, don't forget you're on my live later. Jackie Green's Cats and Things. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. What time is she going live again?
9 p.m. UK time.
So 3 hours, 2.5 hours?
2.5 hours from now, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be done. Hey, Richard, how are you? Gareth's brother Richard in chat.
Oh, Rich, how you doing, man?
How you doing, Richard?
Bloody hell.
It's good to see you. This will be over before that, Jackie. I just figured I'd come on for a couple hours anyways, and just see what everyone's up to. And it was nice to hear from Matt there in chat. So,
do you know what I did this morning at 6 o'clock in the morning?
6 o'clock. What did
AM.
you do? AM. What did you do?
I had to stay up all night because I thought if I fall asleep, I'm never going to wake up, because I was asked to be on something very, very big last night.
No way.
Yeah.
Probably. Any hints?
I'll put in a private chat. Okay. And probably, I don't know, maybe 1 million viewers.
Nice.
Last night. Yeah.
Nice. Wow.
So, yeah.
No way. That is awesome. That is awesome, Matt.
Yeah. And I told them some shit, and they went, no. And I went, yeah. And there's lots more I can't say, and I will say, but I'm kind of restricted at the moment by what I can say. And they said, okay. And everyone was going, you need to get this guy on again.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I think we were talking maybe this Friday or tomorrow night, Matt. It's been 3 years since Gareth passed away. Yeah.
Oh, it's so sad to miss him. I miss him loads.
Oh, yeah. It's hard to believe it's been 3 years. It's like yesterday. And it's funny because it's not funny, but it's funny that I was just going back and I was watching some of the old when he first started doing the mindset mornings on YouTube. And it was really cool to watch those again.
Yeah.
And
Well, sorry, Richard. I kind of find it funny because every time one of my friends pops their clogs, I never get sad for them because I know they passed on to the other side and they're there. So
and,
I'm not going to feel sad for them. In fact, I celebrate their life. I
yeah.
have fun.
Mhm.
I have fun,
Mhm.
and then I say to myself, I go ha 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 ha, ha. Beat ya.
Yeah. It's
I'm
funny.
I'm
I
I'm still around, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Some of us have got work to do.
I said the same thing to a group of people. I did like a ghost walk for a provincial park here, and they wanted me to come in, and because we've been doing research for a place, and a couple ladies they were asking about what happens to us after we die, and I said, well, that's the big question. I mean, hey, that's the eternal question. Are we ever going to answer it? But people will say, well, you go on, you move on to a better life or whatever. I mean, there's all sorts of theories, obviously. Oh, you just die. You just die. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I do believe our our energy sort of essence that we carry with us, it transitions. I do believe we transition into a whole different plane of existence, right?
I
Rather
used to
than
be really skeptical as a kid,
yeah,
up to a certain age, and I used to think scientifically. I was very left brain, and I used to think, no, 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 all this religion stuff is bullshit. It's there's no afterlife. I mean, but it doesn't make any sense. It's just like when you're dead, you're dead. So make the best of what you got.
yeah,
And I've been flipped and flipped and flipped and flipped and flipped with so many things I've seen and so many
yeah.
things I've experienced. It's not that I want to believe like the X-Files. I want to believe. I have no fucking choice but to know, not believe, know. I'm quite happy with my knowledge of the afterlife because when you see things with your own eyes, and yes, your eyes can deceive you, and you look for rational explanations, but just things just happen and happen and happen and
Very,
happen and
very.
happen. Yeah. So I don't believe, I know. And I know it sounds a bit arrogant, but when you've been there and you got the t-shirt, you know.
There's nothing wrong with being arrogant, I think, with this, Matt. I really
Yeah.
don't. I mean, it's I think it's arrogant when somebody says, "But there's nothing there." That's it. Maybe for the physical aspect of this life, the physical things in life, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, fine. But I mean, there's more to physicality than life in life than to move on and say, well, that's it. No, I just think there's just too many variables that don't make sense. That just end because our physical vessel, if you will, decides okay to poop out, and that's it. There's more. There's more there.
Richard is saying, but how can you see your loved ones if they've been reincarnated? Well,
Mm.
possible theories here. There's a thing called the Akashic record,
Yep.
right?
Hmm.
So all the record library of what you did in your life and everything about that's stored somewhere. So it's kind of like going back through time on YouTube. You can go back in time and you can play those recordings and you can go back and watch them and freeze frame them and look at them in detail. But the person may have reincarnated. But you can still, sometimes by going to a seance or whatever and connecting, you can still sound like you're talking to them, but maybe what you're getting is a replay, you know?
And to further that, Matt. Hey, Mick, how are you? To further that, I mean, you think about all like audio. You and I chatting right now. Just it doesn't end. It literally is stored
Yeah.
and plays out over and over and over again throughout the expanse, the universe. It doesn't go anywhere. Energy is infinite,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't end. It continuously goes on. So I mean, for us to say, oh well, look at just because again our physical sort of being is has a time limit on it, doesn't mean that our energy aspect has that same time limit. It doesn't. It has to go somewhere, right? And it goes
Yeah.
in, and it quite possibly, as you put it, Matt, into that record, that archive, the cache records.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, I don't like hammering people with my opinions unless they
Yeah.
really sincerely want to know, and they're asking me sincerely, because a lot of people, when they ask you, so what do you think about the afterlife, what they're really saying is, well, I'm not going to agree with what you're about to tell me, so why did you tell me, so in my mind I can disagree with you and I can pick holes in it. So
Yeah.
as long as somebody's sincere, I don't mind discussing some of my deeper thoughts on these things, but I don't like ramming my belief in the afterlife. I don't like ramming, like I've told people recently, I actually believe in God.
Hmm.
Okay, not
Hmm.
not maybe one God, many gods, and
Hmm.
maybe they're all kind of interwoven and are one. All these different gods.
What's the name of it again? What's the name for that again? Believing in some.
Polytheism, is it?
Yeah, polytheism. That's it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and that because I I probably believe that most because I mean I do believe they all have and they all probably come from the same thing, but they all have their different sort of variations that seem to place the right pieces together that gives you the whole picture, so to speak. Kind of, if you can descript it, you can say, hey, look at, oh yeah, that makes sense, but it's missing here, but okay, that religion sort of brings it up and says okay and explains it, sort of thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, the arrogance sometimes of skeptics is they play from a deck that
Hmm.
has white cards, yeah,
Yeah.
but they throw them down like as if they're the ace of hearts. Ace of hearts. Every card is an ace of hearts. So they're playing with a blank deck, yeah.
Okay.
And when you tell them, well, I got this card, I got this card, and they go, no, I can't see no cards. I see blank cards. And they expect you to look at their cards and see ace of hearts, and all you see is blank cards,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
So the arrogance sometimes, it's like somebody saying to me, so where did you go on holiday? And I say, I went to Greece. And they go, oh, Greece. I kind of heard about Greece. And you go, yeah, it's really good. Yeah, but I heard there's nothing there. You
Hmm.
say, well, have you been? No. But you know there's nothing there. Yeah. I said, well, I've been. There's plenty there,
Yeah.
you know?
It's like a lot, like I mean, again, well, New York City is not like Greece, but I mean,
Yeah.
people, oh, you don't want to go there, it's shit, it's nothing but crime and all sort, it's dirty, blah blah blah. But you know what, I don't know, man, I enjoyed New York City. Oh, yeah, the hustle and bustle, I get it. I mean, that's, if it's for you, it's for you. But I mean, to visit it, I thought it was great. I think it's something you need to do. Hey, Louise, how are you?
I'll be back in a sec. Her
Yeah.
dog is making whiny noises. I think
Yeah,
she can
yeah.
hear me talking, so she's just like, what do you want?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, people will give you their. Well,
Go bed.
I don't like that place.
Go bed.
It's dirty, but
Go
I
bed.
don't know. I would tell everyone to go there for at least once in their lifetime, just to experience what it's like. You know, it's like Las Vegas. You know, oh, but it's just this oasis in the middle of fucking the desert. It's not really an oasis, man. It's pretty dirty.
Hmm.
It's pretty dirty, man. I mean,
In
you,
bits. I
yeah,
mean,
in bits.
it's
Yeah,
like a theme park,
yeah,
really. I mean,
yeah. In
all
the
the
middle of
the
nowhere.
houses are all great, but there are some dodgy areas and red light districts and things you probably
Yeah,
want to stay away from. But I think Las Vegas is great. I mean,
I like that.
compared to like Blackpool or something like in this country, or Brighton, I
Yeah,
mean, there's no comparison.
it'd be
It's
pretty cool. And I was tempted to do it, but I didn't have enough time. Explore the underground of Las Vegas.
hmm,
And apparently, it can get pretty brutal in areas. It's pretty seedy.
yeah,
So, I mean, it was really weird when you're in the main part of Las Vegas. One side is like all ritzy and rich and beautiful and well kept, and then the other side, it's like, wow, you know, wait a sec here, it's so segregated, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's the same area.
Yeah, but the thing is, all the workers, who a lot of them are sort of like, illegal immigrants and people on Skid
Yeah.
Row, and
Yeah.
they work in the hotels and clean the hotels and
Yeah.
clean the streets, and they do all the really low paid jobs. And then across the other side of town is everyone who owns the hotels.
Yeah, pretty
It's
much.
like, yeah,
Yeah, you got yeah, and again, it's like kind of like New York City too. I mean, New York, I mean, when you go to when you're in Manhattan, it's literally just tourists and people who work there. There's
yeah,
nobody that really lives there. I mean, yeah, you have people that live there, but most of the people, they come in to work, or you got tourists, right? The people that work there, I think about 90% of them are Hispanic.
mm,
They're Hispanic. They've migrated, legally, illegal, whatever. But I mean, that's the core of the workforce there in downtown Manhattan, and pretty much a lot of New York City, right? Because no, it's the thing where I know it's here like this here, only a different workforce. But I mean, it's jobs that people don't want, that live here. They don't want the jobs because they don't pay enough. So, okay, well, we need to fill the jobs. Who are we going to fill them with?
yeah. The trouble is, as well, I mean, I believe in unionization and things, so that these workers should be
Yeah,
paid proper amounts of wages, and they should be minimum wage, so that it makes it more attractive for everyone to take that job. But if they're going to say, well, we'll pay you $1 an hour, and somebody says, well, I'll do that for $1 an hour, well, somebody who needs $10 an hour to be able to rent a small flat or apartment, and have a car to get to work, they need a minimum of £10 an hour, $10
yeah,
an hour to just live, pay for their Medicare and buy the food and pay for the car, just the basic things to just allow you to work. And I mean, some people will work for nothing, and then they take the jobs away from other people who want to a little lift up. Some of these people, they live in their cars, and then they go to work cleaning hotels.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
I think now, here in Canada, you're starting to see. I know the United Nations is a joke, but anyways, they simply said that our temporary employment, the temporary workers that come from other countries, it's almost like a form of slave labor, and it kind of is, because these guys will work like literally hours upon hours, and now there's like a resistance, because now they're cutting back, because unemployment is starting to rise. So, okay, what do we need? We need to, like, say, okay, well, we got to cut back on bringing these people from other countries to fill these jobs, because we're going to have to start opening them up for people like residents of that country. And now there's an outcry with these people that have come in and say, well, no, we want our work visas extended, and the government's like, no, you came here, you knew it was temporary, it's time to go home. you
and,
know
and the sad thing is, as well, all these people who they get paid cash in hand, they don't
yeah,
pay tax, so they don't contribute to the system.
yeah,
Then they're not able to get medical care because they can't afford it. They're not in that part of the system, and then they because they're not legally, green carded, they can't vote, so they can't change the system.
yeah,
So
yeah.
they're outside the system, and it's just a bit sad, really, sometimes.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you literally. No, I'm just reading what you wrote. Yeah, okay.
Daniel
Oh,
said, Matt, your mate behind you needs a short back and sides and a hot towel shave.
yeah.
Yeah, but you don't want to see the Wookiees balls, because they swing around. So yeah.
So yeah, so what's it like there? Is it pretty much the same like in the UK when it comes to the temporary workforce? Same sort of scenario.
There's a minimum wage, which means that it should be a living wage if you do enough hours and you pay your taxes. But sometimes, you end up on like emergency taxes because you change your job, change your job, change your job. Then, you're always on a high rate of tax, and you always get it back, but it's always, you get it back months and months and months later,
Mhm.
6 months later sometimes, before it can get processed. So You're constantly always a little bit under the minimum living wage, but you've been paid that. But some agency work can be quite well paid because agencies will charge like £50 an hour, and they'll pay you 20. They'll keep 30. They'll pay you 20, but then you're on double the minimum wage. But I mean,
Yeah.
like companies will pay £50 an hour to an agency. So why don't they pay £10 an hour and have 5 staff?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
50 pounds. And I mean, yeah, here it's when you get into the temporary workforce, the job might I think it's like, many times it'll say like, oh, $25 an hour, but because the temporary work agency takes about a certain percentage, you only see about $15 out of that $25.
Mhm.
He's like, what the hell, man? They're ripping me off.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey, I saw something the other day. Apparently,
Yeah.
I think it's FedEx drivers.
Yeah.
They earn about $50 an hour.
It's amazing. UPS and FedEx.
That's it. UPS. Yeah.
Yeah, UPS and FedEx in the States, they held out and they got a great deal. They really did, man. They really lucked out. I mean, of course, this is before the downturn, when things started to slip down. But I mean, inflation is just it's ridiculous. I know in the US, like when I go down, like I've been going to the US for years. And even when the Canadian dollar was on par and at one time even higher than the American dollar, the prices were so low.
Mm.
Their cost of living was so low. I mean, and here it was probably double what they were getting. Like wage wise, we were probably getting paid double. Of course, buying a home, same thing. Obviously, it was so low to buy a home there. But I mean, because the cost of living was so low, to them it was expensive. For us, if we were to go, oh hey, let's buy a house here. Why not? It's dirt cheap. You know, when a house was probably half a million here, there it was like maybe 100,000.
Yeah.
200,000 for a nice home. And of course now it's on par. And
Yeah.
our dollar sucks. So I mean, I think it's like a dollar 30 something Canadian for an American dollar, but their prices because of inflation has skyrocketed. It's almost to the point where it's now on level with the same pricing as us. So it's almost better for them to come here because of the exchange, because it's cheaper to buy stuff here for them now and bring it home
Mm.
than it is to buy it there.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I watched this pilot guy who applies 747s and all sorts of Dreamliners and the Beluga, the thing that's got the huge nose on it,
Yep. Mhm.
and anyway, I think it's called 73 Gear or something.
Okay.
And yeah, he's a bald guy pilot, and he says, he said everyone thinks it's really great being a pilot, and it is because you got your hands on the control of the best thing that there is.
Yeah.
But you've got a lot of responsibility and a hell of a lot of training, and it takes years and years and years to ever get to that point. He said, and you know what? When you start, he said, you think you're going to be on good money. No, you get your hotels paid for, you get your food paid for, you get your transport paid for, but you know how much you earn per day? About $50
$50.
to
Wow.
fly transatlantic and be the pilot or well, not the captain, to be this, the second, second officer.
Yeah.
And and people think it's loads of money. Now 20 years later, when you become a captain and you become a very experienced captain, yeah, you could be on a couple of 100,000, great. But not when you start. You are paying to be there to fly that aircraft. You
Wow.
can't buy a house. You couldn't buy a house, you know.
Yeah.
And he said you just live in hotels, and they pay for you to be in hotels. So you work hotel, work hotel, work hotel, work hotel, $50 a day, and then you can get $50 an hour to just deliver parcels with UPS with no real qualifications. So how does that work? It's like highly skilled, get paid nothing. Not very highly skilled, get paid loads. It's just everything is upside down in the world. A lot of things.
Yeah, it's insane. Like I I look at some of the jobs and what they pay, and you sit there and go, "Wow, they get that kind of money for what? They're not doing anything.
Mm,
Absolutely nothing." Hey, Mark, how are you? You know, they're absolutely doing nothing. And then you've got this grunt dude. Because I mean, let's face it, and I'm pretty sure it's pretty much on par in the UK and the US. There's no middle anymore. It's either you're on the low or you're on the high end of things. There's no middle anymore. The
yeah,
middle is non-existent now. If you're hanging on to that middle, you're screwed the way
yeah,
things are going. You know?
yeah, yeah. And I mean, somebody sent me a video of one of these little delivery robots
Yeah.
for a supermarket that we call co-op,
Okay.
cooperative. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
was trundling down the street with a little flashing light on it, and it was it came up to them, and it stopped, and then it reversed, and it tried to go around them, and then it reversed, and it couldn't get round, so they stepped out of the way, and it went and carried on down the road. Now the thing is, it's cool. It looks like it's the future. It's like, wow, look, it's the future. But the thing is, that took the place of somebody who could have just driven around and delivered that stuff in a car.
Car, bike, whatever. Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
so even they're even so stingy these days as to say, well,
Oh yeah.
we're not even going to pay minimum wage. We're going to just buy a robot. You know. And this is
Oh,
why some people, when they see these robots coming down the road, they pick them up and turn them upside down. So they go, no, no deliveries for you, sir. Because that's somebody's job.
you know what? You know what I saw? Oh, here. Let's see if I can bring it up. I'll bring it up here. I don't know how well
Chewy
you.
agrees. Look,
Um, where are we? Video. And I saw this just outside New York City, and let me just play it. Why I would upload it, but so literally, I've only seen a handful of these, but mostly in the States. I haven't seen any here yet. Let's see.
or a Cybertruck, yeah.
Yeah.
Whistling Diesel did a video. I've only just started watching it. He said a real world test of how durable the Cybertruck is, and he will literally destroy that Cybertruck by the end
Yeah.
of the episode. And he's really funny. So everybody wants to see whether or not those things are really as durable as they're meant to be. Watch Whistling Diesel. He's hysterical.
There's been a couple issues. I know. I watched a couple things. A couple. One video was literally the guys had taken it off roading to see how the durability of it off roading, and literally they were crossing a small little stream,
Yeah.
like a stream creek, and it got stuck. The back it couldn't literally climb up the bank, and then it shorted.
Wow.
It shorted. And then you watched another guy who was doing, hey, Swedish chef, how are you? Yeah. You, yeah. And then there was another one where they do the hauling wars. The pickup trucks do the hauling wars. Okay, who's going to be able to haul who, sort of thing. They put the chain in between the two trucks, and then they go nuts to see who can haul who.
Yeah.
And they pit it up against an F-150.
Mm-hmm.
It started like hauling the F-150, no problem. Then all of a sudden, the back axle and bumper just fell right off. And I'm like, wow, okay, that's too bad, because it was really destroying the F-150. But so I mean, it's like a lot of new things. I mean, obviously, these things obviously will be corrected within time.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, what I think that the thing that most people have against it is the look.
Yeah.
It's the look. Most people, like, it doesn't look like a truck. It's odd looking.
Well, it looks like something out of a 1950s sci-fi, sort of series, or like what they used to drive around. I remember, what was it? They all lived underground in a bunker, and everyone had to die by the age of 20. So they used to euthanize everybody. What was that? What was that called now?
Soylent Green? Not Soylent
Not
Green.
Soylent Green. No, the other one.
Logan's Run.
Logan's Run, yeah.
That's
Well,
it,
the
Logan.
TV series of Logan's Run had a
Yeah,
really futuristic sort of vehicle in it. It's kind of
yeah.
like that sort of thing, isn't it?
Can we see like maybe a reboot of Knight Rider with a Tesla truck?
Yeah.
Knight Rider. But yeah, and I get it. I mean that's it's you look at a lot of these oddities. I mean, you look at certain things that just don't make any sense. I mean, well, look at one of the huge memes right now that's going on is the Australian female B girl break dancer who like, what the hell, man? What was she doing? I don't know if you saw any of that. At her moves is like, wait a sec, what is she doing? She's not even break dancing. Right. And she simply said, well, I just wanted to be artistic and different. And people are like, how the hell did she even make it to fucking the Olympics? But hey, Airwolf. Yeah, exactly. There we go. Airwolf.
That's one of my favorite series of all time.
I loved Airwolf, man.
Yeah. Dominic Santini.
Yeah.
Santini Air.
Yeah. That was such a cool. I got to sit down and watch it again. It's been so many years. Such a great series.
I told somebody on a live stream the other night, I said, if I ever become rich, I'm going to get a Bell 606 or whatever it is, and I'm going to do it out just like Airwolf, and I'm going to fly around and do my urbexes in the Airwolf.
And Airwolf, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Logan's Run was a cool flick. I don't know if I've ever sat down and watched the actual series though.
It's a neighbor's dog barking, not mine. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Canada's Phil Wizard. Yeah. I saw that. Brought home the gold. Yeah. Street Hawk. Yeah, Street Hawk. Well, yeah. Yeah, there's so many cool TV shows, sci-fi, futuristic TV shows from the late '70s, early '80s, up into the early '90s. That like, wow, these are pretty cool. I mean, obviously, everyone was like, early '90s. Oh, I love the X-Files. That was cool.
Mm.
But I mean, before X-Files, we had, Leonard Nimoy.
Mm.
The
Twilight Zone.
The Twilight Zone. Hey, Jimmy, how are you? Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, I mean, there were so many things that when you sit there and you go, wow. When you look at life now.
Do you remember a really cheesy one called Manimal?
Oh, no, I don't.
Manimal. It was like this guy, and I think he either turned into different animals or he had them and he could speak to them or some shit. But I think he used to just transform into them. He would sort of go and turn into a lion and turn into an eagle. And
I don't remember that one.
Manimal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Manimal. Okay, I'll have to.
Oh, Jackie Green says we're watching the X-Files from the beginning. Well, yeah. Right. Episode 2 of the X-Files, very first episode. Episode 2, they're at Ellen's Air Force Base, which is an anagram of Nellis.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I was at that time that was just, hadn't even been shown. I was at Area 51 digging up sensors in the desert. Yeah. And
you were digging up sensors?
Yeah. The radio sensors that tell them where your position of your car is, so they can track you on a screen.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, okay. And we were looking at them, and then we were putting them back where we found them and noted them on the map. There's one. So I mean, the guy who showed me, Glenn Campbell. I mean, he's still around, but a lot of people stole his research and then called it their own. So just saying, hey,
Melissa.
Yeah. But he was one of the early guys there, and But he was very, very skeptical. He said, "There's no UFOs out there. It's just military craft and whatnot." But he took me up in a 4-wheel drive vehicle up rocks and literally rock crawling, climbing like that. And he took me all the way up to the closest point, and we evaded the security because he knew where all the little sensors were.
Mhm.
And when we got up there, the camo dudes freaked out because they went, "How did they get up there? We never even saw them coming." Shit. So then they all like congregated then and got their telescopes out. They were like, "Who the fuck are they? Who the fuck are they?" "Oh, it's just Glenn. It's just Glenn being a twat again." So I went home. I went back through Las Vegas, and then I went to San Jose, Silicon Valley, and I went and stayed with my friend who worked in Silicon Valley. And I turned on the TV, and episode 2 of the X-Files was on. And guess what car he was driving? It was the car I was just driving. Same color, same model. Mine didn't have plates on it because it was so new. It didn't have plates. And they were really pissed off, the camo dudes, because I was driving around in a car with no plates. And I was sleeping in the back, and they were coming around with torches and shining them in like, "Who the fuck is in the back? What car is this? Who's in this car?" And they were not happy. And I was like, and then I watched the X-Files, and I thought, well, I've just kind of gone and done that, except I didn't see any UFOs. But I just kind of did what Fox Mulder is now, for the very first time, doing on a TV show, talking about Area 51.
So was Chris Carter ghosting you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Swedish Chef says that's one heck of synchronicity. Yeah.
And do you know as well, that car did about 140 miles an hour? And when you come to like little small towns where it's an intersection, it's just like that. It's just one road in, one road across, like that.
Yeah.
And I knew there was probably a police car sort of hiding around a corner, just waiting for somebody to come with a speed gun or whatever. And I was like, 140 miles an hour, boom, through town, like boom, 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 past the police station, boom, 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 boom. And I never got stopped once, and nobody batted an eyelid.
Barry's asking, did you run into Dana Scully?
But I kind of wanted to know what it'd be like to kind of get pulled over by an American cop, because I would have just talked my way out of it. I got a smooth tongue.
So was this the first time? Oh, okay. Had you ever been in the States before, or was that the first time?
Yeah, I'd been to it wasn't my first time. And
okay.
Yeah, and I went up to see San Francisco, and I went to Yosemite, and I went to Tonopah.
Yeah.
And I nearly ran out of fuel going from Yosemite down. I got to the top, and then of course it's 10,000 foot. So 10,000 foot, it's really hot and sunny at the bottom. It's freezing cold icicles at the top and snow. And then I got to the top, and of course the oxygen is so low, your car's going up at 10,000 foot. So I got it just over the top, and then it was going downhill. And I put it in neutral, and I rolled it all the way for about 30, 40 miles downhill from Yosemite. And I got to the bottom, because at the bottom was the only petrol station, and it was closed. So I rolled in to the petrol station and slept until morning. And then it didn't open. It wasn't open. So I had to limp another 20 miles on zero fuel to get to another open petrol station. And then I went to Area 51. Yeah.
Starnek was asking, was that before Bob Lazar? And I think it was, right? You were saying
it was just around the same time that Bob Lazar had come about, and not long after Bob Lazar had come about. But yeah, it was, yeah. And I was over there to see, well, Bob Lazar said this. It sounds a bit wild. It doesn't sound wild anymore, though, does it? Weird, that.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Now Bob Lazar sounds like the sanest man in the room.
And they'll never admit that, though.
No, they kind of know now. They
know, but they don't want to look silly.
Yeah.
We were mistaken about this guy. Yeah.
But I can't understand why they would hire somebody like Bob Lazar with such a shady background, but they clearly did. Just saying. I used to think Bob Lazar's story was hokey. I don't anymore. not
Well,
anymore.
I think a lot of people thought his story was hokey, right?
Yeah, because I mean, he has a checkered past, but I mean, yeah, they threatened his life a number of times, so he's lucky to be alive. They weren't happy he was talking to people about what he was doing out there.
For those who don't know, what do you mean his checker pass? I'm just gonna get a refill, but go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, well, he ran a brothel for a bit of time, or had something to do with it anyway. Got himself in trouble with the law over it. Hang on, nose is running. This stuff I just stuck up is just running back out now. Yeah, and he ran a photo developing business and used to develop holiday snapshots in. And whilst he was working in the photo place, somebody said, "Oh, I got an idea for a job for you if you want." And he said, "What's that?" He said, "Well, you're quite brainy. You got a bit of a nuclear physics background and whatnot, and you've worked in Los Alamos. And do you want to go and work somewhere out in the desert, and earn a lot more money, you know?" And he said, "Well, yeah, but I got the photo job. I can't leave this because I kind of, this is my job. This is my business. I own this, or I think he owned it." And they said, "Well, this is kind of a job that you'll only get offered the chance to do this job once in your lifetime." And he said, "Okay, all right. Well, I'll have to moonlight then. I'll have to do this job, and then I'll have to go and work in this other job, which was jump on an aircraft at McCarran Airport in Las Vegas, jump on one of the Janet unmarked flights, get flown in to Area 51, work on the UFOs in Area 51 and up the road at S4, yeah, and then they fly you back." But in the meantime, he would have to close his photo booth business, or he got somebody else in. I can't remember whether it was his girlfriend at the time, and she would fill in so he could go and work in Area 51 because this was his second job. It's like, so he already had a job, but working in Area 51 was his special secret job. And there wasn't very good money in it. They told him it would be good money. It wasn't. It was shit. But he was just honored to be there, like a pilot, was honored to have his hands on the control of being there, you know. But they took care of you. They took care of your flights. They took care of
Mm-hmm.
your expenses, but they didn't pay very much. And I think they even stiffed him on some of his paychecks. So, you know, and yeah, but he was recruited from a photo shop. I seem to remember, he was recruited from a photo shop because somebody said, "You got a nuclear physics background. You worked at Los Alamos. We've checked you out. Would you like to work somewhere really special? But I can't tell you where." Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting story. I mean,
Yeah.
what was it like in the UK? Because I mean, a lot of people know that sort of time period in the US and North America, whatever. But I mean, in the UK, what was it like to what was the sort of ufology, paranormal sort of landscape like in the UK? And I mean, you were a part of it. You are a part of it. But I mean, what was it like in the UK as opposed to the US?
Well, our conferences are a lot smaller, a
Yeah.
hell of a lot smaller. They're a lot less professional in the way they run. But they kind of got that like grassroots homely feel to them. And anyone who thinks it's glamorous going on television, and if you think it's glamorous doing
Yeah.
conferences, yeah, trust me, you drive up there 5-6 hours to get
Yeah.
to a village hall or a church hall or something like that, and 20 people, if you're lucky, turn up to listen to you do a lecture and slowish slides and all this, and you're lucky if you can get 50 quid for your petrol. It probably cost you more than the money they can afford to give you. And they can't put you up in a hotel because there's not enough money because only 20 people came to see it. So you end up sleeping on somebody's couch, which has got fleas
Hmm.
and is like encrusted with bloody spilt food and shit like that, and it stinks. And yeah, that's the glamour of the. It's not glamorous. Somebody quite well known. I'll tell you in the private chat, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, because I can't reveal who I've been chatting to recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He said to me, I said, "Is there any money?" Because I knew the answer. I said, "Is there any money in what you're doing?" And he said, "No, no, 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 no. You get laughed at, you get shunned, and there's no money in it." He says, "You do it because you know it's right."
So, I mean, this is stuff though, and this is stuff like you didn't know this stuff before, or did you know this kind of landscape when you started doing the magazine?
Yeah, because I used to go to conferences, but
Yeah.
when I first started going to conferences, there was a big magazine called UFO Magazine, and they did
Yeah.
used to hold really good conferences, and it was professional.
Yeah.
And then Graham Birdsall passed away, and it just went like downhill, and the magazine stopped. Because try as they might, without a guy who had his good hands on the reins,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was very hard to emulate it. People tried to emulate it, but they never quite got it right. And
Hey, Gavin.
yeah, there were other magazines that popped up, and I used to write. I used to write mostly for the other magazines, not for UFO magazine. I never really ever wrote anything for UFO magazine. But what I did do is I took photos at all the conferences and supplied all the photos. So all the photos in the magazine were usually mine. You know, so I was down as a contributing something. I
Yeah.
contributed, yeah, in the magazine. But I used to write for the other magazines because they could pay, because they were newsstand magazines that were backed by big companies who were trying to emulate UFO magazine and steal the market. So they could actually pay. So I would write an article, I would get maybe £50, maybe £200, and then it kind of goes back in the petrol tank so I can do investigations. So I write, I investigate, I write, I investigate. But again, even those magazines disappeared. And there was a golden time when there was a lot of TV shows on talking about UFOs, and it was the you know everybody was into it, yeah. And then those kind of fizzled away. Now the History Channel is all UFO,
Mm.
Bigfoot,
Hmm.
Skinwalker Ranch, Oak Island Money Pit, blah 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 blah
History
blah.
Travel
It's
Channel. Yeah.
ancient aliens. It's like
Yeah.
it's all bloody conspiracies now because they know that's really what people want to watch.
And
You know.
do you think it's all this shit is just watering the shit down? Like honestly, I mean, when we were doing this, Matt, in the late '80s, the '90s, I mean, you really had to work to
Mm,
get a story. You really had to work to get a location that possibly had some sort of history to it, or a story, or whatever else. Now it's like, oh yeah, hey, just write in and tell us your story, or give us a location, and because literally everybody's covering this stuff,
yeah.
and it's so thin now.
But at least you get a flavor of good and bad
Yeah,
together,
yeah,
so it
yeah,
lets the audience decide. And it can look a little bit weak sometimes because the research often that's done is done by researchers that aren't the presenters of the program. Like
yeah,
you've got the presenters who are quite famous,
yeah,
but the researchers who set it up for the presenters to present on
yeah.
it, the researchers are usually quite weak. But it's better than nothing.
True. And I mean, it's I guess it's what
It's what everyone wants.
everyone wanted, right? I
It's
mean,
it,
it
it,
was
it's got to be
eventually going to,
selling adverts. Sorry,
yeah,
sorry. It's got to be selling adverts, so it must
yeah.
be working.
But let me ask you though. I mean, for somebody who was doing this in the late '80s and the '90s and stuff like that, how
I,
is
ne-
it
I,
different?
ne- I
How
never
is
I never stopped.
No, I know you haven't stopped,
Yeah.
but I mean, we'll just say the heightened of it, like the real work. But I
Mm.
mean, and you're still doing it. Don't get me wrong. I know you're still doing it, but I mean, how is it different now to you? I mean, what are your views on it now as opposed to back then?
Um, I We didn't have YouTube back then,
Yeah,
and we didn't really have the web even. We had
yeah,
dial-up modems, and we had chat chat places where you dial a specific server, and you can send a message and it will go through the network to another server. and some would say, hey, this is my server is called Star Trek,
Mm,
the next computeration or something like that,
yeah.
and you dial in there and you get Star Trek information and Star Trek downloads, and it's all slow and it's all text,
Hmm.
and it's and you download your Star Trek information. This was pre-web.
Yeah.
And you go to another one, it might be UFOs. You go to another one, it might be technical stuff and electronics. You go to another one, it might be about sport. And every single thing was catered for all over the world. You could dial up, especially if you were hacking the phone lines and getting free calls. You
Mm,
know,
yeah, I remember those days.
yeah. So but it was really hard to get the information out there, which is why I did my own little magazine, because my own magazine was nearly most of it was kind of it was all editorial by me. We had contributors, but I would do quite a few stories,
Yeah.
and but I didn't have anyone editing and deciding, "Oh, I'll chop that out," or we need to squeeze this down into less space time. And no, I never ever chopped anyone's work down. I kept exactly the same layout. I would just make sure there were no spelling and grammar errors.
Mm,
You know, I'm a big believer in do not cut people to chop them up. Yeah,
yeah.
television has me for 2 seconds, then
Yeah.
you for 10,
Mm, hmm.
then me for 5, then him for 3,
Yeah.
then him for 5,
Hmm.
and basically they just repeat it 3 times. So it's an hour's worth of material compressed to 10 minutes, padded back out to an hour, and it's rinse repeat. The problem with these TV programs is they don't do Joe Rogan style interviews. Don't cut
No,
them off. Don't cut them off. Let's let you go. Come on, what you got to say? Now, why is Joe Rogan beating the History Channel and things like that? Because people don't want editing and they don't want adverts.
they want the raw. They want the real. They don't want the shit.
Yeah.
They want the actual. Like here, I'll give you a little sample of some things I had.
Your audio went a bit wobbly then.
How am I now? Am I okay?
So it's okay. Yeah, it's sort of muffled out a bit, but it's back now. Yeah.
This is something I did. Oh God, a while ago.
I tried to start. You see, I was trying and trying and trying to do things that never made it. Okay, I'll tell you in a minute.
Looking for the nutrition on that plate.
Steve has been a terrible way that he has scared off all the flavor.
Hey, Laura.
Purgatory for food.
Turn it up.
I want you to hit
Hold
low
on.
sodium, higher protein, higher fiber.
I don't know what that means, but leave it with me.
Like, wow. What do I
Ha!
I need you to explain to me how you're a healthy guy, but there's no real health that ends up in the meal.
Compromise. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. I don't know why. I've tried everything. I've given up.
You've tried everything.
I've tried everything.
Steve, I don't know about all this paranormal mumbo jumbo. The only thing I believe in is flavor.
You know, Ezra, maybe you should spend some time with the guys investigating this house, because I'm telling you, this place has tons of activity in it.
I'm open to it. I really don't think anything's going to happen.
I'm definitely going to take him shopping.
Okay.
And I'm going to convince you that some of these ingredients are palatable and amazingly nutritious.
So I will believe as well. If Ezra will become a believer, I will too.
Awesome.
Oh.
For breakfast.
But yeah. There, I mean, some of the stuff that you had to endure and to populate all these specialty networks that were popping up in the early 2000s, the late 1990s, 2000s, and you're like, wow, they would literally take anything.
Yeah. See, you guys over there, you had cable access, and you could go to a local studio, and you could just sit down turn the cameras on, little vision mixer, and you could interview guests, and you could play music, you could play guitar, and you could do interview shows and things like that. Now we didn't really have that in the UK because we're highly regulated, and then we started to have it. We started to have cable and networks and things like that. but nobody small ever went and said, "Can I use it?" So I did.
Wow.
I went over to a cable head point, and
Yeah.
it was quite a far. It was about an hour's drive. It wasn't down the road, It
Yeah.
was an hour's drive.
Mhm.
But I said to them, I said, "Hey guys, you got plenty of space for free channels. Do you use them?" And they said, "No, because nobody's giving us anything to put on them. If somebody would bring us
Wow.
the tapes, we'll press play and we'll stick
Wow.
something on." And I said, "So you really would allow it?" And they said, "Yeah." And they said, "You have to read the IBA. You have to read the IBA thing. We're not covered by it strictly because we're a closed circuit
Yeah.
television system.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So we're not actually broadcasting. We're intracasting, not broadcasting." So, and I said, "Okay, then." I said, "But obviously, no swearing, no sex, no, it's got to be clean. It's got to be child friendly, unless we do it in the evening.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be good to go early evening or at late in the afternoon." They said, "Yeah, sure." So we were all ready to just about do it. And I was starting to record show material and get lists of people I could interview them, chop it together in an editing suite, which I had access to an editing suite,
Yeah.
chop it together and just start stacking a load of tapes up and take them over and say, "Well, that's Monday, that's Wednesday, that's Friday, that's Sunday." And then
Yep.
they would put them in and press play. We weren't live, because I couldn't go live,
Yeah.
it was just too much. So, but they said, "Yeah, no problem." And we just about to get it going. And somebody changed hands, and the new guy came along and he said, "Nah, not really."
Oh man,
You know,
that would suck.
yeah. So, and of course now anyone can press live on YouTube, and you can have your own television channel. You don't have to ask permission. You know.
No, I
So
mean,
everything's changed. It's easy. This is easy, and you can put so much good information in here.
and that's the thing, Matt. I mean, I look at all these, YouTube and all the different social media platforms, and yeah, you got these people that they don't utilize it; they just use it,
Hmm.
and they get all these likes and subscribes and shit. And you're like, why? Because of the drama and everything else. But I mean, the people that really utilize these platforms are amazing.
Yeah.
These are the people that you really want to pay attention to because they have something to say and they're doing the right thing.
Yeah. It's the world is literally at your fingertips
Yeah.
right now, and until it's taken away from us and we're stopped from being live and uploading, and that may come because they're scared now because people
Afraid,
can
yeah.
tell the truth
Yeah.
and they don't have control. They still do. They can ghost you on YouTube and stuff, which they do.
Yeah, and I mean now the larger platforms like here on YouTube they start to regulate and censor and bullshit. It's just like the more you do this, the more you drive this underground, the more shit gets out.
Yeah.
You drive away the people that help build this platform. I mean, I look at years ago when we first started doing the radio show. We
Yeah.
we started doing it on Blog Talk Radio, and back then it was like it didn't cost a cent. You would have 2 hours. You done your 2 hours. Okay, you want to go for a couple more hours? Sure, go ahead. Right, blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden they started charging, and then all of a sudden the platform just went boom 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 to the point where it's almost non-existent. Yeah, the platform's still there, but who really pays attention to it now?
Radio is a good format because you don't have to look at the camera. You don't have to worry about your appearance.
Yeah,
And you can just focus on your voice
yeah,
and your list of what to say. And, like, don't forget to say this and these points. And it's so much easier. It takes the pressure off because some people have a fear of facing a camera, but they don't have a fear of voice.
yeah, yeah,
So most of it, I mean, Joe Rogan would still succeed if he didn't have a camera set up in his studio because it's all about the content. It's not
Mhm.
about the looks. It's not about the look. It's the written word. It's the spoken word.
Yeah, it's amazing how far Joe Rogan's come. It
Yeah,
really is. I mean, who would have ever thought that a guy coming from the background that he came from
yeah,
would have this very critical show? I mean, people don't understand how critical his show is.
yeah.
You know,
But he
rather,
knows how to kind of criticize you and try and drag something out of you, and then he'll take it the other way and he'll go, okay, so let's play the other way then. I'll steel man you then, you know.
yeah, yeah.
And let's say, okay, if you're right, then where do we go with that? And then he'll try and take it back and forth and back and forth. He's really good. He's a really good interviewer.
Extremely good.
Yeah.
Extremely good. But you'll have to once you find out about the info that you gave me with your appearance.
I can send it to you
Yeah.
unedited, but before I put anything out or point it out, I've got to just put a logo over it because there's things on my screen when I'm taking part.
Yeah, no. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
even when it goes live, I'll listen.
It was live.
Oh, that's right. It was live, so I didn't get a chance to listen to it. But yeah, I'd love to
It's
check it out.
probably already there now for you to listen to on there. Yeah.
I'll give it a
Clue.
listen.
Listen. Anyway, I
Listen,
say
yeah.
I've given a clue. Yeah.
So that's cool. That's cool.
Mm.
That's really neat. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking to myself, like, there's a lot of people coming out of the woodwork, and I got a lot of information. So why not back some of these people up?
Matt, you got a shitload of info. I really respect the info that you have and that you've given since I've met you. I really respect it. I really do.
And you
And
you you do good stuff too, mate. Because I mean, you've got a lot of dedication with what you do, and some of the stories you told me. I mean, you're a dark horse, man.
I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed and you know what? It's not like I've expected it. It's like, wow, holy crap.
I mean, like, I'm a werewolf, and you've seen one.
Mhm.
Maybe it was one of my friends.
Could possibly be. Hey, Budacris, how are you? Yeah, it's
I got to be careful saying I'm a werewolf though, because there are real vampire hunters and real werewolf hunters. But I'm always one step ahead. Don't worry.
well, yeah, don't say you're a vampire. You might get guys like
Sean
Sean
Manchester,
Manchester.
yeah.
He might
Who
come after
Gareth
you.
interviewed, didn't he? I think Gareth
He
interviewed Sean
did.
Manchester. Yeah.
He did. And we tried to get him to come on our show, but because we had David Ferran on before him, he's like, nope, not gonna
Yeah.
happen. And I said,
Yeah.
fine. He went to town, with the whole evil cabal bit. And I laughed.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, the thing is, I think, to be fair, you should have like Elon Musk, because he says electric's the future, and then you should have the head of CEO of Ford who says gas is the future. You
Absolutely.
have both.
Yeah, you have to have both sides of the coin. You really do. I mean, I have my views like the paranormal, which we cover. I mean, I have my views of the paranormal. I've investigated and researched the paranormal for many years now. But I also look at it with a skeptical eye. I need to be skeptical. You have to be skeptical.
Mm.
But you always have to remember science can't explain everything. A lot of
Yeah.
this is theory based, built on theories. Life
Yeah.
in many aspects is built on theories.
Yeah.
So you need to have both sides of the coin. You really do. You
Yeah.
really do. Absolutely.
And maybe somebody who's very skeptical and anti what you're saying might actually point something out that you need to know, and then maybe you'll point something out to them that they need to know. We all need to learn. We shouldn't shut our minds to
No,
any possibilities, even if they're critical of what we believe in, or even if they back it up. And
absolutely. John P, how are you? John P Adventures, how are you? Um, and I was telling Mr. Wills that, hey, well known, how are you? That I would like to, with the new season, I would like to have you guys on, you, maybe Steve, and perhaps a couple other people, and to chat about have a UFO
yeah,
uh,
Steve,
round
come on,
table.
man, come on, Steve. Steve, you've got the kit now. We haven't put it into use yet, but like, come on my
Yeah.
show, come on Steve's show. I mean,
Oh,
just come on. I mean, you got the time in the evening, and you've got so much stuff,
mm-hmm.
so much knowledge up there.
Yeah.
Your recall of some things, apart from you told me that Paul McGann, who was one of the Doctor Who's,
Doctor Who's.
he said he's from Liverpool. I said he's not. He's from Newcastle. He's Geordie. And he went, no, he's not. He's from Liverpool. And I went, no, he's not. And he said, Now now Steve is normally always right.
Yeah.
95% of the time he's right, and he makes me look stupid. But then there's some things you're not going to convince me of, because I know that Paul McGann is a Geordie, like Daniel Ulloch. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was telling him, I said, "Hey, let's do it. Let's have a round table to hey, Paranormal Walks, how are you? Let's have a round table, a nice round table discussion, and just get our perspectives out there. 'Cause-
Hey,
yeah,
sorry to cut you off.
no, no,
Do you know what I really like doing? And Steve likes it too.
yeah,
And it really gets people on, and it gets the numbers up, and it's really good fun. Is like a quiz, paranormal quiz,
paranormal quiz. Yeah,
ghost quiz.
hey,
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
up for that. Yeah,
We
either way.
rotate it. So you do
Yeah,
question master, I'm question
sure,
master, Steve's question master, and we see who's got the
we could do that.
best memory.
We could do that. Absolutely, I'm up for anything.
Entertaining.
Yeah, I'm
I
up.
love I love quizzes.
Yeah, quizzes would be
They-
pretty cool.
yeah, and you can win not massive prizes, but just special prizes.
Well, I don't have a problem. Hey, would you like a double-sided T-shirt? I don't mind giving a T-shirt here and there.
Yeah.
Uh,
I send stickers to people who donate to the channel. It's not a lot, but they're cheap for me to produce and put in an envelope. And maybe we do some stuff like that, which is just going to really keep the cost down of posting. But we keep a league table of scores, and
Miles Johnson.
yeah, Miles. He's a man who's available 24/7, really.
Okay.
But me and Miles, we have this love-hate relationship. But we are always stood by each other over the years, even though just insults get thrown back and forth sometimes
But
between
you
us.
know what? I think that's healthy, though, Matt. I
Yeah,
mean, there needs to be that jostling, right?
yeah,
I mean, there really does, especially when you have a few a couple people who really know their stuff, really know and really have the information, and sure may not always agree. I mean, everyone's not always going to agree.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
that's the thing.
Miles has quite a large following himself.
Yeah.
So the thing is, he would actually. Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
Somebody's ringing me. I'll
Yeah.
just I'll take this quickly, and I'll just
Sure.
tell him I'm working on it.
No problem. Yeah, absolutely. Snunrick. I'll keep that in mind. Miles Johnson. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, we're going to explore. I think in the new season, we're going to explore the UFO sort of scenario a little bit more again. We sparsely have done it over the years. It's been mostly the paranormal in terms of ghost. I hate I hate saying ghost hunting. I really don't like saying ghost hunting. But I mean, for people to understand, ghost hunting.
That
But
was a man who he does osteopathy, and when I've been in pain, he's gone click, 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 and clicked me back in. So I just said to him, "Yeah, I'm going to look at your computer. Don't worry." Paul McGann is from Liverpool. He might live in Liverpool. He might have been born in Liverpool, but his accent is Geordie. Hang on, let's find out. Then I'm gonna have to double check.
Stephen Greer. There's another interesting
Yeah.
fellow.
Yeah.
My thoughts on Stephen Greer. I've kind of been intrigued by Stephen Greer over the years.
He was born in Liverpool into a Roman Catholic family. His ancestors immigrated. This is Wiki, right?
Wiki.
They immigrated from Ireland.
Ireland.
Emigrated, surely. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Suburb of West Derby. He went to school in West Derby. He went to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. Okay. Why does he have? I think he's got a Geordie accent, not a Liverpool accent. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misplacing his accent.
You never know, right?
Yeah. Now the thing is, as well, like Sting. Sting is Geordie as well. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah.
Hey,
I don't
Kim,
know.
how are you?
I'll do some research. I'll find out what's going on. You might be right, Steve, but I've gone around for many years. I think I've seen interviews with him, you know, with Neil and I swear he was talking about, like, you know, Geordie this, Geordie that, Newcastle this, Newcastle that. But, you know, I don't know. Yeah, okay. All right then, Steve, maybe you are correct. See, you know,
So that
Matt got on his high horse then.
that 95% turns into 96 now.
Yeah, possibly. But I was right on something else the other day. I'm sure of it.
All in all, we're gonna have to have Steve back on the show, and of course you, Matt. I think
he come on now if he wants to fire up his camera. He's got a mic and a camera. Now it's time to test it out. But you're probably going to be going in a bit, I suppose, because and at 9 I'm going to need a little break, and then at 9 I've got to be on Jackie Green's. I may not be on all the way through unless I can see. I'm on energy drinks at the moment, because the moment I start drinking beer, I'm going to be like,
yeah, poop you out.
Yeah.
All good though, Matt. You're doing good.
Yeah.
Good.
We're all good. We're all
hear.
good. Like I say, I mean, I was up all last night to wait for 6 a.m. in the morning to be on a show. And then I had a couple of hours sleep from 8 o'clock till lunchtime. And then I was out all day today, working on the car and driving around and stuff. So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you, when you have a show like that or whatever, we're not going to give too much away. They ring you up and say, "Hey, look we want you on the show." How does that make you feel?
I rang in because my friend was actually, he's not a Geordie, says Tracy, and she's from Newcastle, so she should know. Okay, so Tracy agrees with Steve. Oh, it's a mutiny here, folks. It's a freaking mutiny. Yeah, it's a mutiny. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I thought I'll steel man my mate.
Yeah.
Because we saw some shit together, you know, and I know that he tries to steer a very steady course because he doesn't want to upset anyone. Yeah. So he's very politically correct and down the middle. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to throw a curveball, a couple of curveballs, and have him doing the Donald Trump Matrix, like dodging the bullets, because I wanted to draw him out and say, come on, you've seen a lot more than you're talking about. Come on, let's go there. Let's see how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it got quite interesting then.
Good. I'll have to
Yeah.
listen to it.
Yeah.
I'll have to. That's really neat.
Yeah.
I would say my views on the show, but you know what? I'm not gonna say too much, obviously, because
It will deal with anything, like
Yep.
slug men from Mars.
Yeah, but that is cool.
It is entertaining. Yeah,
It is
'Cause
entertaining. It's really cool that that's neat. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, and let's face it, I mean, hey, a lot of people really kind of grew up or listened to it or whatever else. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you can't talk like it's an institution, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it is. There was an old. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I know Reeves Cook is pretty familiar with this show.
Mm-hmm.
Reeves was actually a really good friend of his. That had a following for years when podcasting was in its infancy. When it came to the paranormal, Lou Gentili. Were you familiar with Lou Gentili?
I might have pronounced it Gentile.
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 Yeah, Gentile. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I kind of remember the name. But yeah, not a great aficionado, but I kind of know the name. Yeah.
Yeah, he was notorious for taking James Randi up, accepting James Randi the $1 million challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And James Randi shot him down, saying
Yeah.
that it wasn't acceptable.
Hmm.
But hey, whatever.
Nobody was ever going to get that $1 million.
No, nobody was. Did he even have $1 million to give away?
No, probably not.
Mm-mm.
If he was such a good magician, why was he not doing Las Vegas every night and earning millions?
Well, he started off as hey Gareth, how are you? He started off as a musician, but then he became this debunker, if you will. This guy that was very hard on people who were making claims of the paranormal.
It's like a martial art. All he does
Yeah.
is he's just got blocking moves.
Yeah.
He just blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks.
It's like these vets. These vets that they're notorious for something that happened like 30 years ago, and they've been just like sort of riding the wave of what they did 30 years ago.
Yeah.
They haven't done anything new.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there. Like
I'm kind of like a bit of a one-trick pony, because I mean I started a lot of my stuff magazine, doing things on the fringe, and always on the fringe looking in, but never fully taking over the center ground, just always circling the edge and just looking in, and that's the way I like it. I don't want to become the presenter of Ancient Aliens. You know what I mean?
It's like
screw
Matt,
that.
Matt, we're coming up with this new show on crop circles. We wondered if you'd host it.
I will.
Would you
if I will,
hosting?
I would do it, but I would only do it if the contract said I had editorial control. That's where they'd say, "Get the fuck out of here."
Yeah.
Yeah. No way.
Yeah. No, I would agree. You need that. You need to have that
because it's my name.
Yeah.
Could be ripped down if it's got shit script.
Well, everyone would go, do you remember that show where that guy on crop circles, that guy Matt Williams was hosting? And it's not who wrote it or directed it or produced it or whatever else. It's the guy who hosted it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
the one who gets it in the neck, not all these other people behind who actually
Yeah.
make the show. Yeah,
He's the fall guy. He's the guy in Game of Thrones that gets his head chopped off.
yeah,
Go
yeah,
for the throat.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you can get more done behind the scenes. Like I would prefer to be the researcher on that show because then
Yeah.
I can make sure the research is tight. So the presenter who will take the fall if I'm wrong, he'll take the fall, but I can try and do the best job I can. And if I cock up, I would actually step forward and say, it's not his fault. I got it wrong. Leave him alone. But there's not many people who would step up and say they're wrong. But I wouldn't let the presenter take the rap for a mistake I made.
Hey B, how are you? I mean, the knowledge is there. I mean, Matt, yeah, absolutely, I agree. I mean, you heard my story,
Yeah.
and if I went to you and said, Matt, what do you think I saw? In your opinion, in your mind, with your experience, what do you think I saw?
Yeah. Well, we've discussed it already, but I mean,
Absolutely, but yeah,
but what do I think you saw? I
yeah,
think that I think the mind can play tricks in the
yeah.
dark.
Mm-hmm,
So you think you see one thing and it morphs into another, then it
mm-hmm.
morphs into another. But I mean, you were stood there for so long.
10, almost 10 minutes, if
You
not.
were you were analyzing,
Yep.
blinking, moving your head,
Mm-hmm,
trying to kind of probably move to the left, move to the right, get some
mm-hmm.
perspective. I mean, like that wasn't a fleeting like, whoa, what was that? What did I
No,
just see? You know,
it was like a fucking it was like a what's the word I'm thinking of when two gunslingers are
standing off,
yeah,
standoff,
standoff,
Mexican standoff.
it was like a Mexican standoff. I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for this guy, whatever I'm looking at to make the first move because I've like hiking instinct. I'm a hiker. I'm an avid hiker. Okay, what the hell am I looking at? I can't figure it out. It doesn't make sense to me. I've seen all sorts of shit along the trails. It
I
just doesn't make
I
sense
think
to me.
I honestly think if it was a bear or a wolf or a
Mhm.
dog, it would have been out of there. It wouldn't hang around. Yeah. But
Yeah,
it was looking at you and you were looking at it, and you were both determined not to move,
and
which shows intelligence.
it stood up on its hind legs.
Yeah, because it knew that you weren't going anywhere. So standing still was it's an instinct I do when somebody spots me, yeah, I just stand still. And you become kind of invisible sometimes. People walk past and they don't see
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
But
yeah,
if you're walking, they go, oh, oh, oh. But if you stand still, people walk by. And I've actually been hanging off the side of buildings, and I just stay still,
yeah,
and
because
they
they
they,
don't notice you.
they don't notice you. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to people who hunt. I've talked to people who work in animal shelters. I've talked to people who work in zoos, people who deal with animals. And I said, this is what I experienced. Can you tell me what I might have seen? And of course, a majority, like hunters, will say, I don't know what the fuck that is. That's weird because um what they normally see when they're hunting is what they're hunting for. They're not necessarily looking at something that's, oh, but they do experience kind of weird shit from time to time. But I mean, majority of it's mangy. I'm like, okay, yeah, quite possibly a mangy bear, but there's no bear. There's no bear in this area. It's very rare to have a bear in this area. And when a bear stumbles in this area, it is quite healthy. It's just it's lost its way. And sort of they'll tranquilize it and send it back up, right?
yeah,
If it was a coyote, which is quite common here. Um, coyotes do not stand on their hind legs as long as this thing did. Absolutely not. And this thing was probably, like I said, about 5 feet on its hind legs. I didn't
Would
notice the ears. There was
yeah.
no. Everyone was like, "Well, did you see the glowing red eyes?" I didn't see any glowing red eyes.
Mm,
That was not a thing. Because to me, that's light reflecting off the retina.
yeah.
No glowing red eyes.
And the thing is, if its pupils are dilated, and
Yeah,
if it was a bear or a wolf, I would imagine you'd see the glow. So,
yeah,
but you'd also see the eyes going like this. So you'd see it going
yeah.
light, dark as it's scanning. So it could be standing still, but its eyes will still be moving. Yeah. So for you to not see anything would
Yeah,
suggest to me that its pupils might have been closed,
yeah.
or there was no light source that would have shone there and back. But you said you were near a bridge which had a light on it, did it?
It had lights on the street lights going on both sides. All
Yeah,
right. And where I saw it, hey Daniel, how are you? Where I seen it was okay, the bridge was sectioned off into two, one for each direction,
yeah,
right? You had a grassy knoll and then like a gap in between the two bridges
yeah,
as it went along the river. The grassy knoll had a tree, and
yeah,
that's how it gauged the height, by the tree. The
yeah,
tree was a newly planted tree, probably about maybe 7 to 10 feet tall, probably more closer to the 10 feet tall. And I'm looking at this thing, and as it's standing there, it was underneath this tree, the bottom of the leaf sort of area. And I'm like, what the hell? What am I looking at? This doesn't make any sense. My mind is trying to compute what I'm looking at, and it just didn't make any sense. No animal known to me came up. It didn't make any sense.
yeah.
None at all. It was really weird.
But I think you were both well aware of each other's presence, and
Absolutely.
for an animal to just stand still and just watch you, but not scan the eyes around,
Yeah.
that's very unusual, because
Yeah.
a cat will kind of go still, but
Yeah. Yeah.
its eyes will still look around, and you'll get
Yeah.
glint, 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 but no glint. That's weird. That to me, almost, I would say, were you seeing a werewolf, or were you seeing some sort of weird creature? Maybe not, because I think maybe more kind of like one of these big cats that's like starts off the size of like a cat, and then grows to the size of a puma. It
Mm.
actually goes. Brrr.
Mhm.
So maybe a supernatural creature.
And that's what I said. Are we talking about a crypto sort of undocumented animal, or and then you know for years it just the back of my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, I had the experience and move on. And then all of a sudden, I started doing the show, and I met this author, Chris Hawley, who
Mm,
was doing all sorts of stuff for UFO magazine, UFO Digest, and all that kind of shit. She's like, tell me. I opened up to her about the story, and she's like, I want to know more. So I was on the phone with her for God, like an hour or two. And she's like, "Are you okay if I write an article?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And I gave her my spiel. I told her my experience. She published it in UFO Digest. It was published in UFO Digest. All of a sudden, she got all these phone calls and emails. People that lived in that area with a similar experience.
yeah,
I'm like, okay, that's weird. And we're talking about, excuse me, about maybe 10, 15 years later.
yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, rather than leading you, to get to the answer that I would like you to say, because this is where my brain is kind of going. But so I will try and lead you away from this. But so you approach the bridge. Where are you looking as you approach the bridge?
Yeah, I was like looking straight ahead. Like I said, I was walking
Looking at
and
the
then
bridge.
looking at the bridge, and then of course on the opposite side, I notice some movement. I look over and I see what looked like, I thought it was maybe a coyote or something or whatever, walking across the crossing the one side of the bridge, and then coming to the grassy knoll in between the two bridges, and then stopping. And then what, I'm like, okay, it's a coyote. I'm just going to take my time. I'll let it cross and go underneath the other side like they normally do. It stopped. And then all of a sudden, it stood up on its hind legs. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. What the hell? And I figured, okay, it's just going to drop down and go down. And literally for like almost 10 minutes, give or take a minute or two, whatever, roughly, hey, Barry, how are you? Bang. It just stood there, and we're like, like you said, a Mexican standoff. We're just staring at each other, waiting for who's going to make the first move, and then bang, we'll go from there.
Mm. Well, it's kind of weird how you're walking towards the bridge, which may mean your footfalls are being heard. An animal would hear you quite well because they've got good hearing.
Yeah.
So maybe the footsteps and the lights, are kind of showing that something's moving. So maybe this thing that's sort of standing there looking thinks, right, I got to get out of here because I'm feeling a little bit trapped close to the bridge. So it starts to move, and then, as you say, gets up. But the funny thing about psychic creatures that are ghostly, as opposed to, like, of course, a werewolf is going to be a kind of weird creature, but it's also very physical. It doesn't kind of shift in and out and disappear and reappear. Yeah. But one of the common traits, tell me how you feel about this sort of statement with, like, the glowing-eyed black dogs, and things like that, that appear and then chaperone someone home, and then disappear. And then the big cats that people see, and they say, well, it looked like it was small, and then it got big, and then it looked at me, and then it turned, and then goes bang, or runs away, but it looks back like to say, I see you. I see you. Yeah. Now, the funny thing is that you're walking towards the bridge, and this thing quite obviously made its presence known, and then did something very strange.
Yeah.
And kept that going for 10 minutes.
For almost 10 minutes. Yeah.
So what stands out to me? So what stands out to you about something that moves out slowly, gets up, and waits 10 minutes? Any, because I don't want to put the words in your mouth. So
shapeshifter,
or a paranormal cryptid. Yeah.
See,
because I think this
Tom
is what
said weasel, and I'm like, well, no, because we're looking at when, and I went back.
Weasels like that.
Yeah, I went back and I actually measured the tree. I actually had a. I measured the tree and I said, okay, this is approximately where it was. And it basically, it measured out to about 5 feet tall.
Which is small for a werewolf.
Yeah.
Unless it's a child werewolf.
Yeah. And I mean, you hear all sorts of stuff. I mean,
I have to take this. Somebody's ringing me.
Go ahead, Ben. You hear all sorts of stuff, and I mean, the dog man of Michigan is like a big thing in these parts, even in where I am in the province of Ontario in Canada. The dog man of Michigan, dog men seem to be like a huge thing where there's lots of sightings and experiences. But I mean, I always equate it to what I saw was something that happened in the late 70s. I think it was 1978 in Toronto. It even made the front page of the Toronto Sun. That's not really saying too much, but still, an artist rendition of something, an experience that a guy had when he was like walking his dog, and his dog got off the leash and ran into like a drain system, and he chased his dog to grab his dog, and as he's grabbing his dog was like barking its ass off, picked the dog up, and as he looked forward, he saw this creature. And hold on, let's see. And I'll show you. I'll show you exactly. Hold on.
Okay, whilst you're looking for that, then
Yeah.
I'll kind of continue the train of thought that I was going with. There is that these paranormal creatures want you to see them. This is often reported. A person will be walking down, looking in the sky, and then they just get this like cold feeling in their back, or like they feel like somebody's walked over their grave or something, and they go, oh, what's that? And then they go look straight at the thing. These things want to be seen. They actually are beckoning you to look at them. And that's why I think it walked out to be seen.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
That's kind of like my theory, but I didn't want to get you. I don't want to coax you into saying that.
No. And again, this is an artist rendition of what the guy had seen.
Yeah.
And this made the front page news. And there you go. So literally, I kind of what I saw was kind of like this, but there was no glowing red eyes. Red eyes. There was no red eyes.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, okay. My train of thought was, okay, do I possibly need to look into that? Okay, where I'd had my experience, there was runoff. There were underground tunnels. Runoff. Okay, is a possibility that these tunnels might lead into Toronto, which is quite possible. They run for miles. Could there be some sort of migration underground of these unseen creatures that have yet to been documented? Who knows? All sorts of things. And sure, yeah, I said that. There are no monkeys, no monkeys at all. Small bear, no bears at all. There's no bears in this area. Very rare for a bear to stumble upon this area. And let me tell you, if a bear did stumble upon, people would be going nuts.
Yeah,
they really would. They really would, because of the bear. But
did
yeah.
anyone in your area who all these sightings came forward? Were any of them in daytime as well?
I can't remember if there was any daytime ones, Matt. I don't know if there was any daytimes. From what I remember, there was a lot, obviously evenings, but again, there was one 10, 15 years later, because my sighting was, I think, 2003, roughly around 2003, when I had my experience. And this was roughly about 2:00 in the morning, very little traffic. So, I mean, back then in that area, it doesn't surprise me that the traffic was very sparse at that time, because I mean, it's a bedroom community. I was working nights at the time, and I was walking home from work. And this was, like I said, around 2 a.m. in the morning. No, the TO Zoo was like very far away from this place. I mean, if it did, it would have been reported, and there was no reports of anything escaping, monkey wise or small bear wise. So, yeah, like I said, I've looked into all that, and none of it makes sense. This doesn't make sense to me. Trust me, It doesn't make sense, other than it's outside the norm.
Yeah.
You know, if anything, it's outside the norm.
And dogs and cats, they tend to pick up. And often people say, like, a cat will sort of detect a ghost in a room or something.
Yeah.
Like a dog will
Yeah.
will like start looking at the corner of a room intently,
Yep.
and then something will kind of happen. But
Exactly.
so they seem to they've got very high pitch hearing. I have extremely high pitch hearing. I can hear up into low ultrasonics,
Mhm.
and but not even I can hear the same things as my dog hears,
Yeah.
because dogs hear mice,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're making squeaking sounds, which apparently are up in the ultrasonics sometimes, and bats as well. I mean, like, I do
Yeah.
hear bats. I can hear bats, which I don't know if other people can hear them, but I
Mhm.
can hear their like little high frequency sounds they make to echolocate,
Wow.
So must be the werewolf.
Must be the werewolf in you, Matt. Exactly.
Mm. Mm.
Exactly.
And
Um.
I've got very sensitive smell as well. My nose is quite you know I say to people, like, can you smell that? And they go, no. Can you not smell that? No. And I go,
What?
and
What
then I
about your?
go, there's something rotting, or there's gas, or there's this or that, and everyone's going, no, I can't smell a thing. And I go, and I could walk around, and I find a broken gas main. I go down to the ground. I go, gas coming out the ground.
What?
You know,
What about eyesight? Do you notice anything?
I've got bad color vision, which are
Yeah.
dogs and wolves. They do see color, but they don't see good color. Yeah,
Well, that's interesting. That's
yeah.
interesting. Yeah. I mean, I would say my hearing is not the best, but I do notice when I'm in an area where there's low noise pollution, I really do hear some really. It's like, wait, did you hear that? No, what? What? You didn't hear that? Am I making it up? Because I'm not, because something is going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyways, Matt, I'm gonna end this.
Okay. Well, that
Um,
gives me a chance to just relax for a little bit before Jackie. So
yeah,
thank you very much.
relax, and if I can, I'll try to pop up on Jackie's. I'm sending her a box, by the way,
Oh,
of goodies from Canada. I know she likes her goodies, so I'm gonna send her a box of Canadian goodies. Um, and guys, do check out Jackie's stream. What she's going at? What time?
9 o'clock. So that's
9 o'clock.
40 minutes from now.
40 minutes from now, guys. Go check out Jackie's live stream.
Jackie Green's Cats and Things.
Cats and things.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. Take care, and thanks a lot. I
Okay.
really always appreciate you coming up, buddy.
No worries. Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Catch you in a bit. Cheers,
Yeah.
folks.
Take care,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Good
Bye. Bye.
night. Bye.